Let's dive into a deeply contentious issue, a concerted effort by the Republican Party with significant actions taken during the Trump administration and outlined in plans like Project 2025 to fundamentally reshape American education for political ends. This isn't just about policy tweaks, it's about a multi-front strategy that could redefine our schools and universities. Let's be clear, the Republican Party has identified education as a key battleground. Why? A major factor is the shifting political alignment of voters. College graduates increasingly vote for Democrats, while those without a four-year degree have become a core part of the Republican base. Remember when Donald Trump said, "I love the poorly educated" in 2016?
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
This demographic reality seems to be a powerful motivator for the GOP's increasingly critical stance on higher education and its traditional structures. According to 2024 exit polls, about 57% of college-educated voters prefer Democrats over Republicans. That's a whopping 14-point advantage for Democrats. The strategy to address this involves several key targets. First up, higher education. The Trump administration made moves that signaled a desire to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, a long-held conservative goal. The federal judge even blocked one attempt to slash department staff by nearly half, calling it an unlawful attempt to neuter a federal agency. But beyond structural changes, there's a war on what's taught. Project 2025, spearheaded by the Heritage Foundation as a playbook for a second Trump term, calls for cutting federal funding to schools allegedly teaching critical race theory, a term now often used as a catch-all for any discussion of race and history from non-white perspectives, and what it labels radical gender ideology. In the first couple months of 2025, shortly after taking office, President Trump signed executive orders banning federal spending on diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI programs. One order defined sex as an immutable biological classification, directly impacting how universities address gender identity. Another aimed to end DEI programs for all government contractors and discourage corporations and private institutions from implementing DEI in the workplace. The message was clear: use federal funding to force universities and companies into ideological alignment. And these threats have had real consequences. Columbia University, for example, faced a $400 million cut in federal funding, allegedly over its handling of pro-Palestine protests. To restore funding, Columbia reportedly agreed to significant overhauls, including government minders to police speech and opinions in its Middle Eastern Studies program. Harvard University found itself in the crosshairs with the Trump administration attempting to revoke its certification to enroll foreign students, a move Harvard called retaliatory for its DEI policies. These actions not only chill academic freedom, but can make higher education less accessible and financially strained. Teachers' unions are another major target for the GOP. Why? They are formidable political allies and financial engines for the Democratic Party. From 1990 to 2024, teachers' unions directed approximately $41 million to Democratic U.S. House candidates, compared to just $1.6 million for Republicans. In the 2023 and 2024 cycle alone, they contributed roughly $47 million, overwhelmingly to Democrats and liberal groups. State-level efforts by Republicans illustrate this. In Florida, a law now requires public sector unions, notably targeting teachers' unions, to maintain at least 60% membership to avoid decertification. Unions representing police and firefighters, who often lean Republican, are exempt. Decertification means losing the ability to collectively bargain. The goal seems to be to diminish a key source of funding and organizational support for their political adversaries. For K-12 education, the Republican vision, heavily influenced by plans like Project 2025, involves a significant rollback of federal influence. The Trump administration's stated goal was to close the Department of Education. Project 2025 details plans to reduce it to a mere statistics-gathering agency, eliminating programs like Head Start, which serves over 800,000 low-income children, and Title I, providing $18.4 billion to high-poverty schools. It also advocates for rescinding civil rights protections for LGBTQ plus students and promoting universal private school choice. By diverting funding choices to the states, state governments would have the option to divert critical funding away from low-income minority communities to wealthier white-majority school districts. This agenda is amplified by the so-called parental rights movement, with groups like Moms for Liberty at the forefront.
Fighting for attend school. This happens when school boards chase selfish goals that are not in the best interest of the students. All of you have a weak record on improving educational standards. Instead, your strengths seem to be fighting for collective bargaining, staying home, fighting for masks, and now fighting against parents. I stand here on behalf of hundreds of parents in our county because I am appalled by what I see. Because someone needs to have the courage to speak truth to power and demand accountability for your failure to ensure that our kids are educated and not programmed.
Founded in 2021, M4L has campaigned against what it calls woke indoctrination, promoted book bans, and attacked LGBTQ plus rights. M4L leadership has called teachers' unions terrorist organizations and has close ties to prominent Republicans like Governor Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. Moms for Liberty has also been tied to white nationalist groups like the Proud Boys and the Patriot Front. A Moms for Liberty Telegram group has been a hub for Holocaust denial, white supremacist propaganda, and hate against the LGBTQ plus community. Once a year, Moms for Liberty members from across the country participate in a whites-only Christmas toy drive, which is not officially sanctioned by M4L, but the very first press release in 2023 from the newly formed Los Angeles County Moms for Liberty denied an affinity for Adolf Hitler, which referenced a prior incident where the organization promoted one of his quotes. The press release said that they officially denounce Hitler and every word he ever spoke. They've become influential in local school board elections. The Los Angeles County Moms for Liberty chair, Karen Frost, supported right-wing school board candidates in 2024, which resulted in what Frost calls a supermajority on the William S. Hart High School District Board right here in Santa Clarita Valley.
We have a supermajority on our high school district. It's a 4-to-1 supermajority of conservatives. And I have a very close working relationship with our trustees there. I was just at a meeting earlier, campaigned with them, worked with them. I had a meeting yesterday with one of the other trustees. So they really lean into us as a support and advocacy group for them. So
the legal front is also active. The attempt to publicly fund St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual Charter School in Oklahoma tested church-state separation, leading to a 4-to-4 Supreme Court tie on May 22nd, 2025, affirming a state ruling against it, but setting no national precedent. And policy shifts under Trump had immediate impacts. Just months after he rescinded a policy designating schools as sensitive locations, DHS agents attempted to enter 2 LAUSD elementary schools on April 7th, 2025, to access students they claimed were undocumented, sending fear through immigrant communities. So when you connect these dots, the rhetoric against wokeness, the targeting of specific academic disciplines and DEI, the push to weaken teachers' unions, the efforts to dismantle federal education oversight, and the actions of the Trump administration and proposals like Project 2025, it paints a picture of a coherent, multifaceted Republican strategy. This isn't just about isolated policy disputes. It appears to be a calculated effort to use education as a tool to weaken Democratic Party support structures and reshape American society according to conservative and sometimes white Christian nationalist priorities. The battle over education is clearly a critical front in a larger contest for political power and cultural definition in America. The implications for the quality and equity of education and for democratic discourse itself are profound. When seeing headlines of what the Trump administration or Republicans are doing to damage education, or seeing the efforts from right-wing organizations like Moms for Liberty, it's important to realize that this isn't just a battle over funding or ideology. There's also a much more cynical political strategy. It's an attempt by the Republican Party and the right to prevent future Democratic voters and damage the supporting structure of the Democratic Party. In this chilling calculus, the intellectual future of our children and the vibrancy of our democracy are deemed expendable for partisan gain.